Stop chasing shortcuts. The single greatest lever for massive success is boring repetition. Do the same small action every day. Repeat it until it becomes unavoidable. This book proves, with science, stories, practice, that daily repetition compounds into unstoppable skill, habit, and results. Not motivation, not genius, repetition. Show up, repeat, dominate. By the end, you will know exactly what to do each day and why doing it over and over wins. Chapter 1. Stop chasing breakthroughs. Do the same thing daily. Most people are addicted to breakthroughs. They want the big moment, the viral post, the overnight success, the one move that changes everything. That addiction is why they stay stuck. Because real progress does not announce itself loudly. It whispers, daily, quietly, relentlessly. That's the key. Extraordinary results rarely come from one perfect decision. They come from tiny actions repeated so many times they become impossible to ignore. You have a choice. You can keep hunting for the miracle moment, or you can build the boring system that works. Show up, stack days, dominate. Look at the people who actually win, not the ones who talk, not the ones who plan, the ones who produce. Writers who publish books don't wait for inspiration. They write a small number of words every day, sometimes 300, sometimes less, but they don't break the chain. That's the key. They mark an X on the calendar. Every day they write, they add another X. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't ask how they feel. They protect the chain. Break the chain once, and it's easier to break it again. Protect the chain, and momentum protects you. You have a choice. This is where most people get it wrong. They think success is about intensity, about passion, about having a good week. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You need repetition. Show up, stack days, dominate. Daily repetition does something dangerous. It rewires who you think you are. At first, you're someone who tries, someone who starts, someone who hopes. But after enough days in a row, something shifts. You don't try anymore. You do. One day, one page, one identity. A person who writes every day is a writer. A person who trains every day is an athlete. A person who practices every day is a professional. Identity is not claimed, it's earned through repetition. That's the key. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you sink to the level of your daily actions. Most people wait until they feel like the person they want to become. Winners act like that person first. You have a choice. Take the example of writers who commit to 300 words a day. 300 words feels small, it feels harmless, it feels unimpressive. But 300 words a day is over 100,000 words in a year. That's a book. Not because they were special, not because they were motivated every day, but because they showed up when it was boring. One day, one page, one identity. That's how transformation actually happens. Now look at comedians. Great comedians don't wait for a big show to practice. They write jokes daily. They test material nightly. They repeat the same lines until timing becomes instinct. Athletes do the same thing. One drill every morning, one routine repeated thousands of times. They don't ask if it feels new. They don't chase novelty. They chase mastery. Do it, log it, repeat. That's the formula. Most people fail because they keep changing the plan. They change the habit. They change the direction. They change the rules. Consistency dies when the rules change. You have a choice. Choose one meaningful action, not 10, not 5, one. Make it small enough that excuses sound ridiculous.
Make it important enough that skipping it hurts your pride. Then make it non-negotiable. Not when I have time, not when I feel ready. Every day. Do it, log it, repeat. Logging matters because what gets tracked gets respected. A calendar, a notebook, a checklist. Every completed day is proof. Proof that you keep promises to yourself. Proof that you are becoming someone new. That's the key. Confidence doesn't come from thinking. It comes from evidence. You don't need their permission to start small. You don't need approval to commit to daily discipline. It's not about speed. It's about direction. Show up, stack days, dominate. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The days that change your life don't feel special when you're inside them. They feel ordinary, repetitive, sometimes pointless. That's why most people quit. They confuse boredom with failure. But boredom is the doorway to mastery. You have a choice. Quit when it feels dull, or repeat until it feels automatic. Automatic beats motivated every time. When the action becomes automatic, resistance disappears. When resistance disappears, progress accelerates. That's the key. This chapter is not asking you to do more. It's asking you to do less more often. Less complexity, less drama, less waiting, more repetition, more structure, more follow-through. Do it, log it, repeat. Today, decide the one action, write it down, commit to it for the next 30 days. No upgrades, no substitutions, no excuses. You don't need their permission, because once you master daily repetition, everything else becomes easier. You stop chasing breakthroughs. You start building inevitability. You showed up, you stacked days, you dominated. You understand the power of repetition. Now it's time to destroy the biggest lie that stops people from repeating daily actions: motivation. You mastered the habit of showing up. Now let's expose the myth that keeps people inconsistent.
Chapter 2. Kill the motivation myth. Motivation is the most overrated force in personal growth. It feels powerful. It feels exciting. It feels productive. And that's exactly why it lies to you. Motivation surges. Motivation fades. Motivation disappears the moment things get boring, hard, or uncomfortable. That's the key. If your progress depends on motivation, your progress is unstable. You have a choice. You can wait until you feel ready, or you can build a system that works even when you don't. Motivation is optional. Systems are mandatory. Science already settled this. Willpower is a limited resource. It gets depleted by decisions, stress, lack of sleep, emotional friction. Routine is different. Routine runs on autopilot. Routine costs less energy every time you repeat it. That's the key. The brain loves patterns. The brain hates constant decision-making. Every time you ask, "Do I feel like doing this today?" you burn energy. You invite resistance. You open the door to excuses. You don't need their permission to stop negotiating with yourself. It's not about motivation. It's about structure. Look at people who never ship. They wait for the mood. They wait for inspiration. They wait for confidence. And while they wait, nothing moves. Now look at people who win. They don't ask how they feel. They follow rules. Email marketers who grow massive lists don't send emails when they're inspired. They send one piece of content every day. Same time, same system. Show up, not feel up. That's the difference. Creators who post daily don't love every post. They don't feel confident every day. They don't wait for perfect ideas. They follow the schedule. That's the key. Rules beat feelings. Systems beat moods. Structure beats talent.
You have a choice. You can let emotions decide your output, or you can remove emotion from the equation entirely. Motivation is optional. Systems are mandatory. This is why discipline feels boring to people who don't understand it. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom from decision fatigue. When the system decides for you, resistance has no voice. You don't wake up and wonder, you wake up and execute. Show up, not feel up. Most people think the solution is more motivation. Wrong. The solution is fewer decisions. That's the key. Every successful person eventually does the same thing. They automate their behavior. They don't rely on willpower. They design cues. A cue is a trigger, a signal that tells your brain it's time. Morning light, a specific song, a fixed time, a physical location. Cue, execute, repeat. That's how habits stick. Look at morning rituals. The most productive people anchor their most important work before distraction enters the day. Same wake-up time, same sequence, same starting action. They don't check messages first. They don't scroll first. They don't negotiate first. They execute first. Cue, execute, repeat. That's the workaround. Reduce friction. If the habit is hard to start, you designed it wrong. Clothes laid out the night before, laptop open to the right file, notebook on the desk. Make starting easier than quitting. That's the key. Most people rely on motivation because their environment is working against them. Phone in reach, notifications on, no fixed time, no clear trigger. Chaos in, chaos out. You don't need their permission to simplify your life. It's not about effort, it's about setup. You have a choice. Design your day so discipline happens by default, or fight your own environment every morning. Fixed times matter. Not sometime today, not when things calm down. Specific, predictable, non-negotiable. When the clock hits the time, you start. No debate, no delay. Cue, execute, repeat. That's how routines become automatic. Automatic beats motivated every time. Because motivation quits when progress is slow. Systems keep going anyway. That's the key. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you need motivation to act, you don't want it badly enough, or you designed the system poorly. And that's good news, because systems can be redesigned. You don't need more hype, you need better structure. Motivation is optional. Systems are mandatory. Say it again. Motivation is optional. Systems are mandatory. This chapter isn't telling you to feel different. It's telling you to build different. Different cues, different rules, different defaults. Show up, not feel up. When motivation dies, and it will, your system should still run. That's the standard. That's how daily repetition survives real life. You killed the motivation myth. You stopped trusting emotions. You built structure instead. Now you're ready for the next level. Because once motivation is out of the way, focus becomes the real weapon. You don't need to do everything. You need to do one thing relentlessly. You learn to show up without motivation. Now let's sharpen what you repeat.
Chapter 3. Choose one microtask and master it. Most people don't fail because they do too little. They fail because they do too much. Too many goals, too many habits, too many priorities fighting for attention. That's the key. Scattered effort feels productive. Focused repetition creates results. You have a choice. You can keep chasing 10 habits at once, or you can choose one microtask and master it. One micro win, one more day. Elite performers understand this. They don't practice everything. They practice one thing relentlessly, one rep. In sports, elite athletes break skills down into the smallest possible unit, one swing, one throw, one step. They repeat that single movement thousands of times. Not glamorous, not exciting, effective. That's the key. Mastery is built from micro-habits stacked patiently. It's not about complexity, it's about consistency. One micro-win, one more day. Most people underestimate small actions because they don't respect compounding. They want visible progress immediately. They want applause fast. You don't need their permission to go small. Small done daily beats big done occasionally. Look at concrete examples. 15 minutes of deliberate practice every day. Not scrolling, not multitasking, pure focus. 15 minutes a day becomes over 90 hours a year. That's enough to separate you from almost everyone. Tiny win, big result. One sales outreach per day, one email, one message, one follow-up. That's over 300 conversations a year. That's clients, that's income, that's leverage. Tiny win, big result. One design iteration per day, one improvement, one layout tweak, one experiment. After a year, you don't just have ideas, you have a portfolio. That's the key. Momentum doesn't come from intensity, it comes from completion. Every finished micro-task trains your brain to finish a den. You have a choice. You can overwhelm yourself with ambition, or you can build confidence through repetition. It's not about motivation, it's about precision. Most people quit because their goals are too large to sustain daily. They aim for 2 hours a day. They aim for total transformation. They aim for perfect execution. Then they miss a day, then they quit. That's the trap. Microtasks avoid that trap. Microtasks make quitting feel silly. You don't skip 5 push-ups. You don't skip 1 email. You don't skip 10 minutes. That's the key. This is where discipline becomes intelligent. You don't ask, what's the maximum I can do? You ask, what's the minimum I can repeat forever? One micro win, one more day. The smallest version of the habit is the strongest version because it survives bad days. It survives stress. It survives doubt. You don't need their permission to lower the bar. Lowering the bar increases consistency. Consistency increases results. Now listen carefully. This chapter is a command. Pick one micro-task, not tomorrow, not later, now. The smallest possible version of the habit that still moves the needle. Writing, 1 paragraph. Fitness, 1 set. Business, 1 outreach. Skill building, 10 minutes. Pick it, do it, keep it. That's the loop. Pick it, do it, keep it. No upgrading, no stacking new habits, no expanding until the habit is automatic. That's the key. Most people sabotage progress by adding too much too soon. They don't master the base layer, they decorate the surface. Mastery requires restraint. You have a choice. Stay addicted to variety or commit to repetition. Repetition builds muscle memory. The brain stops resisting actions it recognizes. What once felt hard becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. Tiny win, big result. Accountability matters here. Not public accountability, not posting online. Personal accountability. A simple log, a check mark, a calendar. Every day you complete the microtask, you mark it. You don't negotiate, you don't explain, you execute. Pick it, do it, keep it. That's the discipline loop. When you miss a day, and eventually you will, you restart immediately. No guilt, no drama, no stories. Miss 1 day? Fine. Never miss 2. That's the key. The power isn't in perfection, it's in recovery speed.
People who win don't avoid failure, they recover faster. Microtasks make recovery easy because restarting is simple. One micro win, one more day. This is how momentum is built quietly. This is how confidence is earned honestly. You stop saying, "I'm trying." You start saying, "I did." Identity follows action. Action follows structure. Structure starts with one microtask. You don't need their permission to commit to one thing. It's not about talent, it's about repetition. Say it again. It's not about talent, it's about repetition. This chapter is not about doing less forever. It's about doing less until you win. Once the microtask is automatic, you can expand. Add time, add difficulty, add volume, but only after consistency is unbreakable. That's the key. You mastered showing up. You killed the motivation myth. Now you've chosen focus. One microtask every day. You're stacking days. You're stacking proof. And now there's one more skill you must develop. Because repetition guarantees mistakes, and mistakes must be handled correctly. You chose the microtask. You committed to repetition. Now let's talk about what happens when it goes wrong and how winners respond.
Chapter 4. Fail quietly. Repeat loudly. Most people don't fail because they fail. They fail because they quit after failing. That's the key. Failure itself is neutral. It has no meaning until you give it one. You have a choice. You can treat failure as a verdict, or you can treat failure as data. Winners choose data. Losers choose drama. Failing does not mean you are failing as a person. Failing means the system produced feedback. That's it. Fail, note, repeat. Say it again. Fail, note, repeat. Most people collapse these steps into one emotional reaction. They fail once and jump straight to identity. I'm not good at this. This isn't for me. I knew I wasn't cut out for this. That's the mistake. It's not about ego. It's about execution. You don't need their permission to fail quietly. Quiet failure is powerful. Loud failure is distracting. Look at entrepreneurs who actually succeed. Almost none of them win on the first try, or the second, or the 10th. Many fail 100 times before something works. But here's what you never see. You don't see the 100 failed offers. You don't see the abandoned drafts. You don't see the experiments that went nowhere. You only see the outcome. Grind silent, results loud. That's the key. The 101st attempt scales because of the 100 before it, not in spite of them. Failure is the tuition. Repetition is the education. You have a choice. You can make failure public and emotional, or private and instructional. People who repeat daily understand this. When repetition is the goal, failure loses its power, because the objective isn't to win today. The objective is to show up tomorrow. Fail, note, repeat. This is why repetition is so dangerous to fear. Fear needs attention. Repetition starves it. When failure becomes expected, it stops being personal. That's the key. Let's make this practical. You should not be making grand moves and hoping they work. That's fragile. You should be running small experiments daily. Small bets, small tests, fast feedback. Test, learn, repeat. A headline, an email subject line, a pricing tweak, a workout variation. Nothing sacred, nothing emotional, just data. Test, learn, repeat. Most people avoid this because it exposes weakness, but exposure is how progress happens. You don't need their permission to look like a beginner. Beginners who repeat beat experts who hesitate. It's not about pride, it's about progress. Here's the rule. If failure makes you emotional, the experiment is too big. Shrink it.
If success or failure feels like a verdict on your worth, you scaled too fast. Slow it down. That's the key. Daily repetition works because it absorbs failure without collapsing. You fall, you stand, you repeat. No speeches, no self-loathing, no quitting. Fail, note, repeat. Logging matters here, not to obsess, to observe. What worked? What didn't? What changed? Write it down briefly, then move on. You don't analyze failure forever. You extract the lesson and discard the emotion. That's discipline. You have a choice. Dramatize mistakes or neutralize them. Neutral mistakes are useful. Dramatized mistakes are paralyzing. Grind silent, results loud. Say it again. Grind silent, results loud. The loudest people online are often the least consistent. They announce plans, they announce pivots, they announce goals. Quiet people execute. They don't need applause, they need reps. Test, learn, repeat. This chapter is about emotional maturity. Can you fail without making it mean something about you? Can you lose without quitting? Can you repeat without reassurance? That's the key. Repetition turns failure into background noise. It becomes expected, it becomes normal, and eventually it becomes irrelevant. Because success is just the byproduct of enough attempts. Enough attempts remove luck from the equation. You don't need their permission to keep going. It's not about confidence, it's about continuation. Say it clearly. It's not about confidence, it's about continuation. Here's your instruction. For the habit you chose in the last chapter, build a daily experiment loop. One small variation per day, one clear outcome to observe, one quick note. No overthinking, no emotional spirals. Test, learn, repeat. If something fails today, good. That means tomorrow you're smarter. If something fails 10 times, even better. That means the 11th attempt is informed. Fail, note, repeat. Most people never get to attempt number 11. They quit at 3, not because they can't win, but because they can't tolerate learning publicly or privately. You are not most people. You're building inevitability. You're stacking days. You're stacking reps. You're failing quietly. And when it works, you won't need to announce it. The results will speak. Grind silent, results loud. This chapter is not permission to be reckless. It's permission to be consistent. Consistency makes failure survivable. Survivable failure leads to mastery. Mastery leads to freedom. You have a choice. Fear failure and freeze, or repeat until fear dissolves. You've learned how to show up. You've learned how to focus. You've learned how to fail correctly. Now it's time to make repetition automatic. Because discipline isn't willpower, it's design. You stopped fearing failure. You stopped quitting after mistakes. Now let's lock repetition into your life so it runs without effort.
Chapter 5. Build an unbreakable loop. Discipline is not about trying harder. That's the mistake. Discipline is about designing a loop so tight it runs without effort. That's the key. If repetition still feels fragile, it's because your system is incomplete. You have a choice. You can rely on willpower every day, or you can build a loop that carries you when willpower disappears. Willpower fades. Loops survive. Cue, routine, reward, repeat. Say it again. Cue, routine, reward, repeat. This is how behavior becomes automatic, not through motivation, through design. Most people fail at habits because they only focus on the routine. They say, I'll work out, I'll write, I'll post, but they ignore the cue. They ignore the reward. And without those, the loop breaks. That's the key. A cue tells your brain when to start. A routine tells your body what to do. A reward tells your brain it was worth repeating. Miss one, and repetition weakens. You don't need their permission to engineer your own behavior. It's not about self-control, it's about self-setup. Let's break it down. The cue must be obvious, a time, a place, an action that already exists. Waking up, pouring coffee, sitting at the desk. When this happens, I start. No guessing, no deciding. Cue. The routine must be small and precise, not vague, not ambitious. The microtask you chose earlier. One page, one set, one outreach. Routine. The reward must be immediate, not someday, not future success, something now, a checkmark, a streak, a moment of satisfaction. Reward. Cue, routine, reward, repeat. That's the loop. That's how repetition becomes identity. Businesses that scale understand this deeply. Subscription products don't rely on excitement. They rely on daily touchpoints, daily reminders, daily usage, daily engagement. Loop it, lock it, live it. The customer doesn't decide each day. The system brings them back. That's the key. Creators who grow audiences do the same thing. They post every single day, not because every post is brilliant, but because the loop is unbroken. Audience expects it. Algorithm expects it. Identity locks in. Loop it, lock it, live it. Repetition builds trust. Trust builds momentum. Momentum removes friction. You have a choice. Build fragile habits that depend on mood, or build loops that survive stress. Loops win. Now it's your turn. This chapter is not theory, it's construction. You will map a 3-step loop for the next 30 days. Not forever. 30 days. That's manageable. That's the key. Step 1. Define the cue. Pick one trigger that already happens daily. Same time, same place. Be specific. After brushing my teeth, at 7 a.m., when I open my laptop, write it down. Step 2. Define the routine, your microtask, the smallest repeatable action. No upgrades, no variations. Same action, same standard. Write it down. Step 3. Define the reward. This is where most people skip. Don't skip it. A physical checkmark, a habit tracker, a calendar X, something visible. The brain needs closure. Write it down. Cue, routine, reward, repeat. That's your loop. Now you defend it, because life will try to break it. Meetings, travel, bad moods, chaos. This is where rules matter. One rule above all others. Never skip 2 days in a row. Say it. Never two. Never two. Missing 1 day is human. Missing 2 days is a pattern. Patterns kill habits. You don't punish yourself for missing once. You protect the loop by restarting immediately. Never two, never two. That's the key. This rule removes guilt and panic. You don't spiral, you reset. Consistency is not perfection, it's recovery speed. You have a choice. Miss once and quit, or miss once and recommit. Never two, never two. Defending the loop also means removing friction. What threatens your cue? What interrupts your routine? Fix it now. Phone notifications off. Workspace prepared. Time blocked. You don't fight interruptions daily. You eliminate them once. That's discipline. You don't need their permission to protect your time. It's not about selfishness. It's about survival of the habit. Loop it, lock it, live it. When the loop runs long enough, something powerful happens. You stop thinking about starting. You just start. The behavior becomes default. Default behaviors define lives. That's the key. This is how repetition stops feeling forced. This is how discipline becomes automatic. This is how effort drops while output rises. People will ask how you stay consistent. They'll think it's mindset. It's not. It's structure. Say it clearly.
It's not about motivation, it's about mechanics. Cue, routine, reward, repeat. If your loop breaks, don't add intensity. Fix the cue, fix the reward. Intensity is unreliable. Structure is stable. You have a choice. Rebuild the loop or keep blaming yourself. Blame never builds habits. Design does. This chapter locks in repetition, not as a hope, as a system. You've learned how to show up. You've learned how to focus. You've learned how to fail correctly. Now you've built a loop that runs without asking. But there's one more illusion to destroy, because many people still believe success belongs to the gifted, to the naturally talented. That lie dies next. You built the loop. You made repetition automatic. Now let's expose the truth that terrifies talent.
Chapter 6. Outwork talent with daily repetition. Talent is loud. Repetition is quiet. And quiet wins. That's the key. Most people believe success belongs to the gifted, the naturally smart, the born prodigies. That belief keeps them passive. You have a choice. You can admire talent from a distance, or you can outwork it up close. Repetition outruns talent. Say it again. Repetition outruns talent. Talent without consistency is fragile. Repetition without talent is unstoppable. Look at sports. The most gifted athlete isn't always the one holding the trophy. It's the one who shows up every morning. Same drill, same routine. They practice fundamentals when others chase highlights. That's the key. In crafts, it's the same story. The best designers aren't the ones with flashy ideas. They're the ones who've done thousands of layouts. The best writers aren't the most poetic on day one. They're the ones who've written every day for years. Repetition outruns talent. Natural ability gives you a head start. Daily repetition decides the finish line. You don't need their permission to start average. Average plus discipline beats gifted plus excuses. It's not about brilliance, it's about durability. Most talented people quit when progress slows. People who repeat don't notice the slowdown. They're too busy showing up. That's the key. Now let's talk math. Simple math, not complicated, not theoretical. 1% every day. If you improve 1% per day, you don't feel it today. You don't feel it tomorrow. But over time, the gap becomes embarrassing. That's the key. 1% improvement repeated daily compounds. After a month, you're noticeably better. After a year, you're unrecognizable. Meanwhile, the talented person improves in bursts, then stalls, then stops. Repetition outruns talent. 1% every day. This isn't motivational talk, it's arithmetic. Small edges stacked long enough create distance no talent can close. You have a choice. Wait to feel exceptional or become exceptional by repetition. Most people want proof before commitment. Winners commit before proof. They trust the math. 1% every day. This is why fundamentals matter. Fundamentals don't look impressive. They don't get applause, but they compound. The person who practices basics daily becomes dangerous over time. That's the key. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Repetition is boring. Talent loves excitement. Repetition thrives in boredom. That's why repetition wins, because boredom filters out the inconsistent. You don't need their permission to be bored. Boredom is the price of mastery. It's not about inspiration, it's about execution. Now listen carefully. This chapter demands an action step. Pick one fundamental skill, not 5, not 3, 1, the most basic unit of your craft. Writing, sentence clarity. Fitness, form. Sales, opening lines. Design, layout balance. Pick it. Now commit to 10,000 reps. Not today, over time. 10,000 small repetitions. Rep, rep, rep. That's the path. 10,000 reps sounds intimidating.
That's why most people won't do it. But broken down, it's manageable. 10 reps a day for 3 years, 30 reps a day for 1 year. That's the key. Small reps remove fear. Repetition removes doubt. Rep, rep, rep. Every rep builds muscle memory. Muscle memory beats conscious effort. When the skill becomes automatic, speed and confidence follow. You don't need their permission to work the basics. Basics create dominance. Talent skips basics. Repetition masters them. Repetition outruns talent. Say it again. Repetition outruns talent. This chapter is not an attack on talent. It's a reminder that talent is unreliable. Discipline is reliable. It's not about genetics. It's about habits. You have a choice. Trust talent and hope, or trust repetition and build. Building takes longer, but it lasts. Talent fades when challenged. Repetition adapts. That's the key. If you feel behind right now, good. Repetition favors the late starter because discipline compounds faster than confidence. Start now. Pick the fundamental. Start the reps. Rep, rep, rep. No one is watching. That's the advantage. While others seek praise, you build power. While others compare, you compound. 1% every day. This chapter isn't about motivation. It's about patience. Patience is the companion of repetition. You don't need to win today. You need to repeat today. Winning is the side effect. You've learned how to show up. You've learned how to build systems. You've learned how to outwork talent. Now there's another trap waiting. Overthinking, measuring everything, analyzing endlessly. That slows repetition. You built momentum. Now you must protect it from analysis paralysis. You mastered discipline over talent. Now let's remove the noise that kills execution.
Chapter 7. Measure less, do more. Most people don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they drown in it. Charts, metrics, dashboards, endless analysis. It feels productive, it feels smart, and it kills momentum. That's the key. Measurement is supposed to serve action. When measurement replaces action, progress dies. You have a choice. You can keep analyzing your way into paralysis, or you can execute your way into clarity. Action beats analysis. Say it again. Action beats analysis. This is where smart people get stuck. They want certainty before movement. They want proof before repetition. But certainty comes after action, not before it. That's the key. Every extra metric you track adds friction. Every extra comparison adds delay. Delay breaks repetition. Repetition builds results. You don't need their permission to stop overthinking. It's not about precision, it's about persistence. Look at creators who actually grow. The ones who publish every day don't wait for perfect data. They don't optimize endlessly. They don't tweak every variable. They ship. Publish, learn, publish. Meanwhile, others obsess over thumbnails, timing, analytics, and theories. They publish once a month, if that. Who wins? The one who repeats. That's the key. Daily publishers create feedback through volume. Over-optimizers create excuses through delay. Action beats analysis. Say it clearly. Action beats analysis. This doesn't mean measurement is useless. It means measurement must be minimal. One metric. One yes or no question. Did you do the work today? That's it. Anything beyond that is optional. You have a choice. Track everything and do nothing, or track one thing and do the work. The metric that matters is consistency. Not likes, not views, not applause. Consistency. Most people want to know if they're winning. Winners want to know if they're showing up. That's the difference. Publish, learn, publish. Feedback is not something you study endlessly. It's something you absorb while moving. Speed beats accuracy early. Accuracy comes later.
That's the key. Over-tracking creates a hidden problem. It turns the habit into a performance. You start doing the work for the numbers, not for the repetition. When numbers dip, motivation dips. When motivation dips, repetition breaks. You don't need their permission to ignore noise. It's not about validation, it's about volume. Now let's talk about the simplest tracking system possible, because you do need something, but it must be frictionless. A single checklist, a calendar, a notebook. One box per day. When you complete the habit, you mark it. That's it. No notes, no commentary, no rating. Mark done, move on, repeat. Say it again. Mark done, move on, repeat. This ritual matters because it closes the loop. Your brain gets completion, your habit gets reinforcement. Then you move forward. Most people overanalyze the day they already finished. Winners focus on the day ahead. That's the key. Make the act of marking done sacred. Same pen, same place, same moment. Completion is a signal. It says, "This is who I am." Identity follows repetition. You have a choice. Turn habits into complicated projects or turn them into simple rituals. Simple rituals survive stress. Complex systems collapse. Action beats analysis. Say it again. Action beats analysis. If you find yourself checking metrics before doing the work, stop. Flip the order. Do the work first, then look. Or better yet, don't look at all. Daily repetition doesn't need constant feedback. It needs protection. Protection from noise, protection from comparison, protection from doubt. Publish, learn, publish. Learning happens automatically when volume is high. You don't need a spreadsheet to know what works. The pattern reveals itself. That's the key. This chapter is about trust. Trust the process you built. Trust the repetition. Trust the math. One action per day. Marked, done, move on. Mark done, move on, repeat. You've eliminated motivation, you've eliminated fear, you've eliminated overthinking. Now repetition is clean. But there's still a threat left. Interruption, external pressure, internal distraction. Because repetition only works if it's protected. You've learned to measure less and do more. Now let's talk about defending your practice from everything that wants to steal it. You built momentum, now you must guard it.
Chapter 8. Protect the practice at all costs. Repetition does not fail. People fail to protect it. That's the truth. You don't lose momentum because the method stops working. You lose momentum because life starts negotiating with your discipline. Meetings creep in, messages interrupt, mood takes over, and the practice gets moved. That's the beginning of the end. That's the key. If repetition is the engine, protection is the fuel. Without protection, consistency collapses. You have a choice. You can let your environment decide your behavior, or you can design your environment to defend your behavior. Protect the hour. Protect the work. Say it again. Protect the hour. Protect the work. Elite performers understand this early. They don't rely on motivation. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. Olympic athletes don't fit training in. Writers don't write when inspired. Top executives don't find time. They block it. No meeting mornings. Fixed practice windows. Non-negotiable routines. The practice is not flexible. Life bends around it. That's the key. If something is optional, it will be removed. If something is sacred, it will be protected. You don't need their permission to say no. It's not about being busy. It's about being deliberate. Most people say yes too quickly. Yes to meetings. Yes to favors. Yes to distractions. And then they wonder why nothing compounds. Repetition needs space. Space comes from boundaries. Protect the hour.
protect the work. This starts with time. Pick a slot. Same time, same place, every day. Morning works best, but consistency matters more than timing. Once chosen, that slot is no longer available. Not for meetings, not for errands, not for moods. Fixed, locked, done. Say it clearly. Fixed, locked, done. High performers don't ask, "Can I move it today?" They ask, "What has to move instead?" That's the difference. Now, let's talk about distractions. Distraction is not accidental. It's designed. Your phone is designed to interrupt. Your apps are designed to pull. Your environment is designed to scatter. If you don't design friction, distraction wins. That's the key. Guard the slot, guard the outcome. Say it again. Guard the slot, guard the outcome. Put the phone out of reach, different room, drawer, airplane mode. Not face down, not silent, out of reach. If it's close, you'll touch it. If you touch it, repetition breaks. Prep the workspace before the slot starts. Notebook open, tools ready, no decisions needed. Decision-making drains energy. Remove it. That's the key. Some people reclaimed hours by protecting one slot. 1 hour per day. No interruptions, no negotiations. 6 months later, their output doubled. Not because they worked harder, because they worked cleaner. You don't need more time. You need fewer leaks. Guard the slot. Guard the outcome. Accountability helps here, not to motivate, to enforce. One person who knows your fixed time. One person who expects the work. No speeches, no explanations, just proof of completion. Mark done. You have a choice. Explain why you didn't do it or show evidence that you did. It's not about guilt, it's about identity. When you protect the practice, you become the kind of person who follows through. Identity follows repetition, but only if repetition survives pressure. That's the key. Now adopt this rule. Never reschedule the practice to sometime. Sometime is a lie. Sometime means never. If you must move it to a specific slot the same day, same length, same intensity, but never vague, never optional. Fixed, locked, done. Say it again. Fixed, locked, done. This rule alone saves years. Most people break streaks not because they quit, but because they postpone. Postponement kills rhythm. Rhythm kills resistance. Protect the hour, protect the work. This chapter is about respect. Respect for your future self. Respect for the process. Respect for the math of repetition. If you don't protect the practice, no one else will. The world will always take more. You must decide what stays untouched. You have a choice. Let the urgent steal from the important, or defend the one thing that compounds. Repetition only works when it's uninterrupted. Now you know how to defend it. You've built the habit. You've simplified the measurement. You've locked in the practice. But there's one final trap: breaking the chain, missing days, losing streaks. Let's deal with that next. You've learned to protect the practice. Now let's talk about what to do when perfection breaks.
Chapter 9. Scale by repetition, not by strategy. Most people think scale comes from strategy. Big plans, long documents, complex roadmaps. That belief is comforting. It feels intelligent. It feels safe. And it's mostly wrong. Strategy without repetition is decoration. It looks impressive. It does nothing. That's the key. Scale does not come from thinking harder. Scale comes from doing the same right thing more often. Repeat the process, scale the result. Say it again. Repeat the process, scale the result. Look around.
You'll see teams with perfect strategies and no output, individuals with brilliant ideas and no traction, businesses stuck in planning mode for years. They mistake motion for momentum. It's not about intelligence, it's about execution discipline. You have a choice. You can keep polishing plans, or you can start repeating actions. You don't need their permission to execute. Strategy feels productive because it avoids risk. Repetition feels uncomfortable because it creates exposure. Exposure leads to feedback. Feedback leads to growth. That's the key. Small teams understand this. They don't wait for perfect launches. They don't build in isolation for months. They ship daily. Small improvements, small features, small content drops. Ship daily. Ship daily. Say it again. Ship daily, ship daily. And they win, not because they're smarter, but because they learn faster. While large teams debate strategy, small teams accumulate data, real data, market data, behavior data. Repetition creates learning loops. Planning creates assumptions. Assumptions don't scale. Processes do. Repeat the process, scale the result. Here's the illusion you must drop, that scale comes from one big move, one viral post, one massive launch, one breakthrough strategy. That's fantasy. Real scale is boring. It's the same action repeated, refined, and multiplied. That's the truth. It's not about creativity, it's about consistency. It's not about vision, it's about volume. That's the key. Think of any successful system. Newsletters grow because they send on schedule. YouTube channels grow because they publish consistently. Software companies grow because they ship updates constantly. Not occasionally, not perfectly, daily. Ship daily, ship daily. The audience doesn't reward ideas, they reward presence. Presence comes from repetition. Now let's make this practical. Every life, every business, every career has a unit of value. One repeatable action that creates progress. Your job is to find it. Find the unit, repeat the unit. Say it clearly. Find the unit, repeat the unit. For a creator, the unit might be one post. For a designer, one iteration. For a salesperson, one outreach. For a founder, one customer conversation. Not the whole system, one unit. Small enough to repeat daily, clear enough to measure completion, important enough to compound. That's the key. Most people fail because their unit is too big. They choose build the product. They choose grow the brand. They choose change my life. Too vague, too heavy. Repetition breaks under weight. You scale by shrinking the unit, not enlarging the plan. Find the smallest unit that still moves the needle, then repeat it relentlessly. Repeat the process, scale the result. Optimization comes later. First comes volume. You don't optimize something you don't repeat. Repetition reveals friction. Friction reveals leverage. That's how systems are built. Daily throughput beats quarterly brilliance. One daily action done 300 times beats one brilliant plan done once. That's not opinion. That's math. You have a choice. You can chase perfect strategy, or you can commit to imperfect repetition. One creates delay, the other creates momentum. It's not about being clever. It's about being consistent. That's the key. Here's your tactical roadmap. Step 1. Identify the unit. Ask one question. What is the smallest action that creates value when repeated daily? Write it down. No embellishment, no expansion. One sentence. Step 2. Protect throughput. How many units can you realistically execute per day? Start with 1. Not 10, not 5, 1. You can scale quantity later. You can't scale inconsistency. Step 3. Remove bottlenecks. Ask after 7 days, what slowed this down? Not philosophically, practically. Time, tools, energy. Fix one friction point, then repeat. That's the loop. Find the unit, repeat the unit. Over time, repetition turns into reputation. People trust what they see consistently. They ignore what appears occasionally. That's the key. Now, here's the hard truth. Scaling exposes discipline gaps. You can't hide behind ideas anymore. Repetition makes excuses visible. Missed days show up. Delays show up. Avoidance shows up. Good. That's feedback. Failing silently is better than planning loudly. Execution teaches what strategy never will. Repeat the process, scale the result. Say it one more time. Repeat the process, scale the result. This chapter isn't anti-strategy, it's anti-delusion. Strategy is useful only after repetition exists. First, build the engine, then optimize the route. If you try to plan scale before repetition, you're decorating an empty room. Nothing compounds without consistency. Nothing grows without throughput. Now you understand how scale actually works. Not through genius, through grind. Not through plans, through processes. But there's one final layer, the one most people ignore, the internal cost of repetition, the boredom, the silence, the lack of applause. That's where most quit. Let's talk about that next. You've learned how scale is built. Now let's talk about how to endure it.
Chapter 10. Repeat until you are unstoppable. This is the final truth. Not the soft version, not the motivational version, the real one. Repetition does not just build skill. Repetition builds identity. Repetition builds resistance. Repetition builds inevitability. That's the key. You don't become unstoppable by hoping harder. You become unstoppable by repeating longer than doubt can survive. Repeat until inevitable. Say it. Repeat until inevitable. Most people stop too early. They repeat long enough to get tired, not long enough to get transformed. They quit when boredom shows up. They quit when results lag. They quit when no one is watching. That's why they stay ordinary. You have a choice. You can stop when it's uncomfortable, or you can keep repeating until quitting is no longer an option. You don't need their permission to stay the course. Repetition rewires who you believe you are. At first, you're someone who tries. Then you're someone who shows up. Then you're someone who does it no matter what. Identity follows action, not the other way around. That's the key. Look at the long game winners. Creators who posted daily for years before anyone cared. Coaches who trained clients consistently before they were known. Small business owners who opened every day even when traffic was dead. No magic moment, no overnight leap, just repetition. Repeat until inevitable. They didn't win because they were special. They became special because they didn't stop. It's not about talent, it's about tolerance. Tolerance for boredom. Tolerance for silence. Tolerance for slow progress. That tolerance is trained through repetition. Every rep builds resistance to quitting. Every day you show up, doubt loses leverage. That's the key. Repetition creates inevitability because the world eventually responds to consistency. Markets trust what persists. People follow what endures. Opportunities align with those still standing. You don't chase inevitability. You repeat your way into it. Repeat until inevitable. Now here's the part most people miss. Repetition alone is not enough forever. At some point, habit replaces effort. That's good, but that's also where plateaus live. So you must ritualize the next phase. This is how good becomes dangerous. Repeat, add, repeat. Say it. Repeat, add, repeat. Once the habit is locked, you add small stress. Not chaos, not reinvention. Pressure. More reps, slightly higher standards, tighter deadlines. The same action, a little harder. Then you repeat again. That's how plateaus turn into breakouts.
Athletes don't change sports, they add weight. Writers don't change craft, they add volume or constraint. Business owners don't change direction, they add throughput. Repeat, add, repeat. That's the formula. It's not about intensity spikes, it's about controlled progression. That's discipline. That's the key. Now let's lock this in with execution. No theory, no inspiration, action. Here is your 30-day starter plan. One action every day, non-negotiable. You already know what it is. If you don't, that's avoidance. Pick the smallest version that still matters. Then do this, day 1 to day 30. Show up at the same time, do the same action, log completion. No optimization, no measurement obsession, just completion. Miss a day? Resume immediately. Never miss 2. That rule still stands. That's how momentum is protected. Show up, repeat, win. Now the 1-year identity challenge. This is where separation happens. For 1 full year, you do not ask, is this working? You ask, did I repeat today? Because identity is built on evidence. After 365 repetitions, you are no longer pretending. You are the type of person who does the thing. Writers who write daily become writers. Lifters who lift daily become strong. Builders who build daily become forces. Identity is earned through repetition. Repeat until inevitable. Now let's talk about doubt, because it will show up. It always does. Doubt speaks in familiar lines. This isn't enough. Others are ahead. Maybe there's a better way. That's when you deploy mantras, not affirmations, commands. Here they are. Memorize them. Use them. When doubt hits, say, you have a choice, because you do. Then say, it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. Then say, that's the key. Then say, I don't need their permission. Then finish with, show up, repeat, win. These are not words, they are interrupts. They break the spiral. They redirect behavior. Behavior is what matters. That's the key. This audiobook was never about speed. It was about inevitability. It was never about hacks. It was about habits. Now you know the truth most avoid. Consistency is not boring. Inconsistency is expensive. Repetition is not restrictive. It's freeing. Because once identity is set, decisions disappear. You don't negotiate. You execute. That's power. That's discipline. That's inevitability. Repeat until inevitable. This is where it ends, not with hype, with responsibility. You know what to do. You've always known. Now you either repeat or you don't. You have a choice. Show up, repeat, win. Every day chosen is a vote cast. Small, repeated votes pile into power. Do the same thing daily and habits build. Skills sharpen. Identity shifts. Repetition is the slow machine that grinds excuses to dust. It wins where talent stalls, where motivation dies, where chaos shows up. Start now. Pick one meaningful action. Make it non-negotiable. Do it for 30 days. Do it for a year. When it hurts, repeat anyway. When progress plateaus, repeat louder. Measure less, do more. The people who crush life are not flashier. They are more consistent. This is the rule. Show up, repeat, win. Right now, stand. Write down the one action and execute it for the next 60 seconds. If committed, like this video and subscribe to Mindshift Audiobooks. Then do it again tomorrow. No excuses. Begin. Record one proof daily. Show proof to no one. Let results speak. Keep repeating relentlessly.